You know, after it comes the list season of the offseason, gentlemen, comes the trade rumor season. And that one raises everybody's eyebrows just a little bit more, especially when it involves a defensive player of the year and a young up-and-coming edge rusher of the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll break down that alleged rumor going around NFL circles right now on this edition of Locked On Eagles Squad podcast.
Fly, Eagles, fly. It's the Eagles Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Philadelphia Eagles every week, covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the city of brotherly love, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Eagles Squad show starting now.
Welcome into Locked On Eagles Squad podcast. Marc Farzetta, Louie DiBiase, and Harry Mays. Jason Martinez with the day off. We got a lot to get into, gentlemen. There's a rumor about TJ Watt that I know we've just a lot of people have discussed, involving him and Nolan Smith and a late round pick. We'll get into the details. The Eagles allegedly, according to Yahoo Sports, are in a crucial decision-making time period over the next 7 years as to whether or not their next stadium will have a roof overhead. And, Harry, that plays perfectly into our discussion yesterday about the NFC divisional round playoff game against the Rams, where it was a snow globe game and how awesome that was. And we also have to talk about whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles are forming, at least on the offensive side of the football, a super team and what they could do on the defensive side of the football to invoke that title as well. And we have our 2024 season rewind with the NFC Championship Game, Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders. But we start out with the hottest rumor out there, TJ Watt for Nolan Smith and a late round pick. This is being discussed now in fan circles, fan pages, podcasts, radio, everywhere. Louie, I'm going to start it out with you, my friend. Is this a deal you would do?
No, I wouldn't. And obviously TJ Watt being on the Philadelphia Eagles would dramatically improve this football team this year. It goes without saying he's a top 3 player on defense in the NFL, but I don't think it makes sense really for the Eagles and their timeline. Like, obviously they can try to repeat this year, but with the way their core is growing together on defense, I'm not trying to get rid of Nolan Smith, who is still has 3 years left on his rookie contract that you can take advantage of. He's an ascending player coming off an elite playoff run, had 4 sacks in the playoffs, had over 10 sacks down the stretch after the bye week. For me, like, I don't know, just feels like kind of a lateral move. If I'm adding TJ Watt, it's because I want to pair him up with Nolan Smith. If you have TJ Watt instead of Nolan Smith, you're kind of still in the same boat. It's a player you expect to be elite on one end and then a bunch of question marks on the other end. So, and he's a lot more expensive. I don't know. I think Nolan Smith is going to break out this year even more and have double-digit sacks. And he's only, 24 years old? Like, I'm not doing it even as good as TJ Watt is.
Harry, you do the deal?
Wow, Louis is so prudent. It's unbelievable, man. I mean, and everything he said there made very perfect sense. But I just love this report and the fact that I know that talk show hosts in the city of Pittsburgh are going through the same dearth that everybody in every city in that business goes through at this time of year. Because this wasn't started by WIP or The Fanatic. If they still have shows there, I don't even know. But Andrew Filipponi is the guy, and he's of 93.7, The Fan in Pittsburgh, apparently started this whole thing. And I absolutely love it because I love TJ Watt. I love the fact that he's going to the Hall of Fame, and 2 or 3 more great years and a Super Bowl championship or 2 would absolutely seal that deal. This guy plays basically every week, hurt. You name it, it doesn't matter what's wrong. He missed a couple of games back in 2022, and I think that's really all that he's missed. The last 2 years, I know he's played every game. And no, but you look at the numbers that this guy has put up, and I'm not even just talking normal numbers for the position that he plays. He's forced 33 fumbles. He's recovered 12 of them. He's got 49 passes defended and 7 interceptions. There's cornerbacks in this league that have been in this league as long as him without 7 interceptions. 108 sacks. He averages 15 sacks a season and 126 tackles for loss over his career with 225 quarterback hits to boot. Give me that guy, because there's no way that I can say Nolan Smith is going to continue on this arc and ever become a TJ Watt. Give me him for 2 or 3 years, and let's go march down Broad Street and put him on the top of a float, a bus. I don't care. Put him on the top of a goddamn tractor trailer for all I care, and we'll throw beers at him on every February. Let's go. Okay?
It's hard to argue against anything he said. I mean, TJ.
I just want to be Louis. I just want to be sure on something here. So Harry, you would do it?
Absolutely, I do.
I was kind of. He seemed like he was on the fence there.
Yeah, I just get off the fence, Harry.
Right,
Come on.
Right. Yeah, I'm throwing him a Bud Light right
Have
now.
some conviction, man. Make it.
Yeah.
I feel like he wouldn't catch it in his forehead like Howie Roseman. He'd catch
Right,
it in his mouth and just bite it and just, drink the fluids in that way.
Like Stone Cold Steve Austin used to do with the Coors Lights. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Louis. Do you want a rebuttal to that at all? Or
No, I mean, it's hard to rebuttal what he's saying because he's right. TJ Watt for the next 3 years is obviously going to be an upgrade over Nolan Smith for the Eagles. He's a top 3 pass rusher in the NFL. Just for me, again, like it's really hard to get rid of Nolan Smith. Like I think he's also going to be one of the best in the league, and he's so much younger. He's so much cheaper for years. And the Eagles, like their books are about to get even bigger when Jalen Carter gets paid and when eventually like Nolan Smith and all these young guys do get deals, that I think you need to start saving up some money. Your offense it's like the highest payroll in the NFL. So yeah, like what he's saying in a vacuum obviously makes sense. I just don't know if you can afford like TJ Watt. He wants like a market breaking contract. And so
like a Myles Garrett type thing.
Yeah. And that's the problem is they just can't afford to give that out to another person right now.
Yeah, so here's where I'm at. I would absolutely do this. If you're telling me that TJ Watt is on your squad and it costs you a late round pick and Nolan Smith, donezo. First off, I doubt that's what all it's taking. Filipano, who did do the report, and Harry, you mentioned it earlier, he's from the Fan in Pittsburgh. He's the one that put this out there during a call, I believe it was to WIP, saying, yeah, I would do that deal, and I feel like the Steelers would do that deal. I really do. I feel like they do that deal. I don't think they would do that deal. I think they know what they have. And I also think that, and I am factoring in the idea that other teams know that it's not just going to be a one-and-done deal with TJ Watt. He's going to want to get paid. It's going to have to be a trade where he knows he's going to a team that is also going to pay him. It's not just going to be a one-year audition. He has that already in Pittsburgh in the final year of his deal. So it's not going to be as easy as that. You're talking about having to pay a player. Now, we all talk about Howie Roseman like he's a cap wizard. He just knows how to manipulate that cap better than anybody in the NFL. This would be his biggest challenge. If there was a kick the tires type of situation with Myles Garrett, and this is supposed to be something that could be entertained legitimately in bringing in TJ Watt, this was the biggest challenge to Howie Roseman ever to make this deal work. So let's just live in the parameters of what it is right now. It's Nolan Smith. It's a late round pick for TJ Watt. I do that deal if I'm the Eagles in a heartbeat. But how do you do the finances of it? How do you work all that out? And that's unfortunately the reality. And as much as I think Howie Roseman is just able to blindfold the rest of the league and pull off whatever deal he wants to do or manipulate the cap as however he wants to, I don't see a world where it is possible to pay Jalen Carter, pay Cooper DeJean, pay Quenyon Mitchell, pay Nolan. I mean, you're not going to pay Nolan Smith. Pay maybe Jordan Davis if he takes that big step forward in the upcoming season.
Well, he'd be out probably. He'd probably be gone.
Jordan Davis probably be gone.
Yeah, he'd probably be gone.
Yeah, and then you'd also be looking at still paying Saquon Barkley a record number, still paying Zach Bond record, still paying your entire offensive line, by the way.
Yeah.
Your quarterback, your 2 wide receivers. This is the most next to impossible. This is as close to impossible as you could get without being on impossible.
Right.
So if you're asking me, would I do the deal? Absolutely, I do the deal. My question is, Howie, how do you make this work?
Yeah, I don't know. Smarter minds than I, like Howie Roseman, would be the guy to try to figure that out. But wouldn't it be great if we were doing a show in either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh today, us and Louie, because we're on opposite sides, and it was all naturally created. It wasn't like a contrived argument where we sat there and said ahead of time, all right, Louie, you got to be against this for whatever reasons, and then Mark, you're for it, and then we battle it out in a fake like Stephen A. Smith, Mad Dog Russo thing on Get Up. You know,
that's what. Okay, so I think you would have to take the Stephen A. Smith role, and then no. Just because you got so amped up. And I'm with you.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about a term super team a little bit later. Oh, good Lord, man. You add TJ Watt to this defense. Super team. Let me put it like this. If TJ Watt joined the Philadelphia Eagles defense, I feel the rest of the league would just surrender. If you're on the Eagles schedule this year, they'd just be like, you know what? We're not even going to make the trip. We're going to save the fuel. We're going to save the time. We're going to have another bye week. We're just going to call Eagles week bye week. You guys take the W. We're not even going to show up, because that would be the absolute definition of a super team. I mean, imagine this. We've talked a lot about how Jalen Carter anchors this defense, and everybody that is put around Jalen Carter automatically just looks better because of the way he speeds up the mind of a quarterback and having to make that play, or a running back having to make the right cut at the right time and all that, and how many double teams he takes up and all that. Now imagine TJ Watt's lurking around there somewhere else, looking to exploit another guy. Who do you stop? How do you stop him?
Right.
Oh, and by the way, you already got Zach Bond back there. You already got 2 lockdown corners. And by the way, a safety in Reed Blankenship that is just waiting for an errant throw, a rushed throw to pick it off in the middle of the field like he did so many times to seal games last year. It's just unfair. Yeah, super team. Offensively, I think they already have it. Defensively, they got question marks.
What did they call that team back when Vince Young was here briefly?
God, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
But they were referencing something like super. I forget the exact words they used.
Okay.
But what a joke that ended up being. And you compare that to what this roster would look like.
Does IKEA wood count as knocking on wood?
Yes, it
All
does.
right, my desk is from IKEA. Hold on.
Yeah. And Louie's back.
Dream team.
Louie's
Dream
back
team.
in the waiting room, by the way.
Can I not put him in?
I don't
Luigi,
know.
can I not put you back in?
There
I'm
he
back.
is.
I'm back.
There he is.
Louis went to
I heard Harry
numbers
talk about
on,
the Dream
Nolan Smith.
Team.
Yeah, the Dream Team.
I
That was
heard
it.
Vince Young and Dream Team. I almost exited out again.
That was
I was
it.
like, all right, this time I'm doing it on purpose.
That was it.
Yeah, that's why, like, the Dream Team forever. Like, even watching Last Dance during pandemic and mentions of the Olympic Dream Team, I was just like, oh, God. Just horrible thoughts. So that's why you're talking about the Eagles now. You're talking about a potential super team. And I know that's been talked about nationally, not just locally. But it's certainly there. So, Louis, we kind of wrapped up the conversation when it came to TJ Watt. Harry and I are both for it. I am just dumbfounded at 2 things. 1, dumbfounded at how Howie Roseman would make the finances work. And 2, how the Steelers would really make that deal for just Nolan Smith and a late round pick for TJ Watt. I don't think so.
I don't think so either, unless they know that they're just not going to give TJ Watt that contract, which doesn't make, from Pittsburgh's perspective, like, why would they want Nolan Smith instead of TJ Watt when every move they have made is acting on the premise that they're going all in this year, like for a 1 year.
Yeah,
they're adding all these old players like Jalen Ramsey. They're getting rid of Minka Fitzpatrick. They're bringing in Aaron Rodgers instead of giving a young quarterback like Justin Fields another chance. Like, for them to now suddenly be like, okay, but TJ Watt is where we draw the line. Like, we're not going to pay TJ Watt. It's like, that's Pittsburgh. I just, their heads are in the clouds. I feel like they're one of the most delusional franchises in the NFL right now. I don't know why they do it, but yeah, I think it would require probably more than just Nolan Smith. But you're right, Mark. Like, again, yes, I'd rather have TJ Watt for 2025 than Nolan Smith. But thinking long term about like the actual realistic future of this team, I don't think financially it's really possible to give TJ Watt what he wants and then turn around and start to pay this defense eventually. I feel like, yes, eventually you're going to have to pay Nolan Smith, but the timeline just makes more sense because by the time you have to pay a Nolan Smith, a Jalen Carter, you can start to make some decisions on offensive players that are aging, and you're not going to want to have them on the contracts they are right now. So I just feel like right now the balance, the timeline of the offense and defense financially works. And if you start to bring in some older, more expensive defensive players, then it starts to get a little bit tricky for even as good as Watt is.
Yeah. I want the deal, but I also acknowledge how close to impossible.
Right. I think the heart wants the deal, but the head knows. Like, I just don't know how you do it. How do you?
Oh, no. Both wants it, but I'm an idiot and can't figure it out. Howie Roseman, I don't think Howie Roseman repeated kindergarten such as I did, so I was on the wrong track to begin with. I think he figures out a way to get it done if there's any way to get it done. But I don't. Like, even the Myles Garrett deal, I was looking at going, how does that even? That'd be great, but I don't even think Howie Roseman can find enough loopholes to make that deal happen and then still pay the talent that you already have on this roster.
I agree.
That's
I mean, you can backload it forever, but you've already backloaded so many contracts. Like eventually that credit comes due. Like it's not like they're just eventually those hits do come. I think people always say, just keep kicking the can down the road. It's like, yeah, but eventually that does come back. And so
all right. Well,
I
we
do that for everybody.
But if you have 3 or 4 Super Bowl parades, does it matter?
That's a fair point. Yeah. But I think you're going to win those. It's not like
you do?
Nolan Smith. He already won a Super Bowl with Nolan Smith. I don't think he's going to be the reason you don't win one. I mean, he's not going to hold you back.
Fair point. All right. You guys are glitching a lot. Maybe it's me. I think I'm going to duck out and come back in. Maybe it's my connection.
Okay. Right.
Fighting through the elements, Mark. That's why we got to build a dome over StreamYard.
Exactly. I was having trouble with the platform in which we stream on as well, but I hope I'm coming in loud and clear for all you wonderful people.
I've got you loud and clear now.
We just celebrated Bobby Bonilla Day in the baseball world. All right. So is there such a world in the CBA, in the NFL, between the PA and the NFL itself? Is there a world where you could defer money for the next 25 years, where every day we could have a TJ Watt Day in Philadelphia where he just gets X amount of money?
I think the NFL is going to eventually do what the NBA is doing. They've already talked about this offseason. They're reevaluating their salary cap future. Like, is our setup for the league the way we want it? And the NBA, like, eventually to stop super teams has added the second apron. So rich owners don't just keep going over the luxury tax. I do wonder eventually if the NFL sees like cash rich teams like the Eagles and being like, we have to stop this or else there is going to be an imbalance in the league. I do wonder eventually if they start to add something like the NBA did, even though parity is not a problem in the NFL. So I don't know why they would.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I learned during draft night was the term second apron.
Yeah, the
I had
second apron.
no idea what the hell that was.
Oh, yeah. The NBA has a hard salary
cap
now. It's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I still hate anything the NBA does business-wise.
Oh, me too.
I don't want any league to hey, the NBA, that was a good idea. Like, I don't think that's ever happened.
Right.
Like, I feel like hockey always gets looked at in a way that's like, why are they doing it? That's dumb. And then other leagues do it. Like, I just feel like that's a general. I know that's a very general statement, but that's just how it's always felt about the NHL. The NBA is kind of like, that seems dumb. It is dumb. Like, that's just kind of how I have approached it in years past. Hey, speaking of something that could be dumb, one of the things I love about Lincoln Financial Field is it is an open air stadium. There is no roof on it. I love the elements being a part of it. That's one of the things that's supposed to be so great about playing in the Northeast corridor of the United States. All the elements are right there in play. We talked about it a lot with the NFC divisional round against the Rams last year in the playoffs, a snow globe game. There's some conversation going on right now about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia Eagles and their approach this in the next couple of years here to what their long-term plans are going to be for their stadium. We're going to get into that conversation when we come back. Oh, actually, Harry, I did want to throw it back to you one more time. So as far as Nolan Smith, TJ Watt, you're thinking just out of reach, but you want to make this happen.
It's probably out of reach, but when I saw that this morning, I was texting so many people because I got a lot of people that are Pittsburgh fans in my family, and we were going back and forth.
Gotcha.
It was great. It just got my old like sports radio brain working, and I was just really fired up about it.
Couldn't help it.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine the jersey sales. Oh my God, I'd go buy one tomorrow.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. All right. When we come back, we're going to break down what would happen. Oh, my God. Watt and Kelly Green? That would be bonkers. That would be absolutely 1,000% incredible. And I'd be here for every second of it. All right. When we come back, we'll discuss the possibility, according to Yahoo, of a dome stadium for the Philadelphia Eagles and whether or not the Eagles are farming not a dream team, but a super team, whether or not they can put that together again. We'll be back after this. This is the Locked On Eagles Squad podcast on the Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. And now I want to tell you about FanDuel. Hope you guys are taking advantage of all FanDuel has to offer. Summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, whatever it might be, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotion and always has fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast payouts, fast payouts as well. Makes it every regular season game so much more exciting. So whether I'm placing a same game parlay or watching a bet ride in the 9th inning in Major League Baseball, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to get started with the FanDuel app. That's FanDuel.com. So this story came up, gentlemen, about the Philadelphia Eagles, and a word is torn. Torn. According to Mike Fisher of Yahoo Sports, this story came out earlier this morning. The Eagles are torn about a major move regarding a new stadium. As of the 2025 NFL season, 11 teams play in stadiums with either a dome or retractable roof. That number could rise to 12 with the Philadelphia Eagles potentially next in line. With their lease on Lincoln Financial Field set to expire in 2032, that's going to be here before we know it, Eagles entering a critical 7-year window to determine their future stadium plans. That decision could involve renovating the current facility, constructing a brand new venue, or joining the growing list of franchises embracing enclosed stadiums for more versatility for other events. Now, the other event, of course, the Super Bowl. Dome Stadium would certainly help the efforts of the Philadelphia Eagles doing that, as well as NCAA tournament, Final Four, all that stuff. Harry, you and I, of course, have grown up with the Vet, Lincoln Financial Field, always open-air stadiums. To me, part of the allure of Philadelphia is being able to play in a Northeast Corridor stadium where you could have snow globe games. You're always going to be exposed to the elements. You have great weather in September, October. November starts to get a little chilly. Same thing as December, January, February, all that and such. I don't want it. I absolutely love football being a game always played in the elements. I mean, some of my earliest memories of football, John Madden talking about how football is played in everything and how they don't play baseball in the snow. And I'm a baseball guy. But I love the elements always having an effect on it. Would you want a dome stadium? And then the other, do you think Jeffrey Lurie would push for a dome stadium?
Now, I was never a big fan of Veterans Stadium, okay? It's the first stadium that I went to see both baseball and football games in. So there's a romantic part of me that is attached to it, but I was never the biggest fan of it. I was always kind of one of these dorky, geeky kids that would draw pictures. Like I wanted to be an architect when I was a wee little kid and build stadiums, like be like part of one of these big firms that's now going around building. That's what I was dreaming of that when I was in the 70s. I was a total dork, but I loved like stadiums and outdoor stadiums. But the Vet was never one. I never liked the circular ashtray looking stadiums that were the combo baseball football thing that was a big deal in the 70s. But that said, I'm not a big fan of the Link either. Okay, there's things I like about it, and there's things I don't like about it. But I can't put bold enough type on the word hate when I talk about domed stadiums, okay? I would never want my team to play in a domed stadium for the obvious reasons. We talked about it yesterday with the elements that the Los Angeles Rams had to deal with when they came to the Link in the playoffs. You name it, you get into January in Philadelphia and all bets are off. You could play in anything. And I think that's a serious advantage for the home team. I would never want a domed stadium here. That said, he'll probably get it. A retractable roof, I could deal with it as long as you opened it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no need, you know, of course, you close it to have the Final Four. I get all that. You know, WrestleMania, all this other stuff that you want. You know,
Super Bowl, maybe.
Yeah, sort of Super Bowl, whatever. Yeah, they want the Super Bowl to be played in sterile conditions for some reason because they want it perfect. I don't think the game of football is perfect, and I don't think it should ever be perfect, but the NFL disagrees. That said, I think Jeffrey Lurie definitely wants one because he can't print enough money for himself. And all these owners are greedy pigs. So I understand all that. But you tell me, what has ever happened positively for the Minnesota Vikings since they moved out of that crap hole, Metropolitan Stadium, where they went to 4 straight Super Bowls at one point in time and lost them all, but they went to 4 of them. Okay, Buffalo went to 4 straight. They're going to build a dome. They start in a dome, I think, the year after next. Watch out. Where was Detroit? Have they ever been to a Super Bowl since they went in that stupid dome? No. It's a bad idea for football, in my view. But that said, he'll probably do it.
All right. I tend to agree with you that he wants it. And I can understand. If I was him, I'd want it too. I get it. But I ain't him. I'm far from him. I don't want a dome stadium in Philadelphia. Retractable roof, maybe. You could talk me into it.
I could deal with that.
I could deal with it as long as it's retracted. So we could go down that avenue.
Right.
Louis, where are you at on the dome stadium possibility?
So I actually do disagree. And I think the right approach is the retractable roof. I think that's the solid middle ground where you can have outdoor games when it's nice out. For me, though, I'm thinking of this selfishly for 2 things. 1, I want the Eagles to win. 2, I want to be comfortable when I'm watching a football game. I don't want to battle the elements when I'm watching the Eagles. I don't want to sit in the snow. I don't want to be soaking wet in the rain watching a football game. I totally understand the theatrical, romantic way of looking at it. That Eagles-Rams game is one of the most beautiful sporting events I've ever watched. But I want to do it in the comfort of my own home. So for me personally, I like going to games indoors. But also, I want my football team to win. And I think that game, the snow helped the Rams. It helped an inferior football team keep it close with a team that has way more talent, but that talent couldn't take over as much because they're slipping. Or it's even in Super Bowl 57, that wasn't because of the elements, but the pass rush is slipping all over the field and they can't get to Pat Mahomes. I hate when exterior factors that don't have to do with the talent of each team impacts who wins and who loses. That's just the way I see it. So for me, I want the retractable roof because I love games outdoors in September and October, but yeah, I don't, as cool as the Blizzards look, that almost ended the Eagles season. They almost don't win a championship because in large part because of the elements of that football game. So
you feel like it evened the playing field?
I think it evened the playing field for the Rams. I think if that was the temperature of the NFC Championship, the Eagles were winning that handily. So that's just kind of the way I view it. I kind of want both, though. I like the option. I do think Jeffrey Lurie is going to want it, though, because like Harry said, all they see is dollar signs, and I think the NFL is going to push for it, and the NFL always gets their way. So, yeah, I think they'll end up – my question is, do they put a roof – is there a way to do it with the link, or are they building a whole new facility?
I think
that's my next
a whole
question.
New thing.
Yeah, I would probably imagine so, too, because it's already crazy enough, but the links – is it one of the older stadiums at this point in the NFL?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, which feels insane.
2002, 2003, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Like a 22-year-old stadium.
I remember I was in the meeting with, or I shouldn't say meeting. I was in the presentation with Don Smolinski, the Eagles president, where he told a lot of media members about what the plans were for kind of updating the stadium because, like many things, you buy a car in 2001, you just get to 2007, and it's like, whoa, all this new technology and the Wi-Fi internet's crazy, and it's amazing. You have this big technology boom, and you have this all of a sudden 6-year-old stadium that's now archaic for all that. So they started talking about building up the corners as something structural to add more seats and all that. They also started talking about Wi-Fi throughout the stadium so everyone could jump on for their fantasy scores and all that stuff. And they talked about basically, I think it was a $125 million upgrade to the stadium that at that point was only maybe 13 years old.
Right.
And it's like, well, at what point do you just build a new place? So I do think it's going to come down to building a whole new stadium and not just adding a roof to the link, unfortunately. So I think, and obviously they're going to put the stadium right in Center City. No, they're gonna build this somewhere. I'm sure around the sports complex in that area. But it's going to be a whole new thing. I know there's been conversation about Jetro Lot potentially taking that over and construction over there with the link where it is now. So there's a lot of conversation that's going to go on a lot about this. But I do think what Jeffrey Lurie is going to do is push, and the ownership push for a domed or retractable roof stadium. Now, on top of that, I also wouldn't put it past the Eagles in a game like the Rams game, for instance, in the playoffs where you're going to have weather impacting the game. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they still kept that roof open.
But have the option at least. That's why I want to retract. Yeah.
You know, they have the fastest retracting roof out there. And when their offense has the ball, you open it up.
Right.
And our offense, and you close it.
Well,
Also,
hey.
I will say this one more thing about the fans. And this is a wild thing. And it's unique, I think, to Buffalo, Philadelphia,
Green Bay.
I think the elements are such a badge of honor and courage for the fans to go to the game where it's terrible.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
No
the Bears
greater
too. When
flex.
they used to go to playoff games, they used to take that in the '80s. That when it was so cold in those games in the '80s against Washington and the Giants. I don't, and the 49ers came in there one time. They couldn't deal with it.
But look at the Fog Bowl. I mean, like the Eagles should have won that football game, and because of these outdoor elements, that team just didn't have a shot. Like, I don't know. That to me, that bothers me. I don't know.
Well, I agree. I understand what you're saying about
Louis wants to go back in time and play the Bears game in a domed stadium.
Give Cunningham another chance. Let's go.
That first half was incredible.
I love it.
That Louis, that's a great reference. That game is even young for me, so I appreciate you bringing it up.
What was that 88? Was that 88?
88 or 86?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it the first game? It was the first. It was the first season. Buddy was in.
I think it was
88. You might be right. 88. You might be right. But like what I'm saying is, it's not unique to Philadelphia. Unique is among the cities that just take it as such a badge of honor to be at that game where the elements were terrible, absolutely terrible. Like I have spoken to people that were going to the Sunday night football game that got canceled and had to be played Tuesday night. It was the Joe Webb game.
Oh, the Joe Webb game.
Yes. That was the game that got pushed to Tuesday night football. I've talked to people that said, that was BS. I was on my way to that game and they canceled it, blah, blah, blah. Like, they take it as such a badge of honor to be at those terrible element games wherever they are throughout the country. So that's one thing I think some fans would miss out on. But, Louis, to your point, I do think the minute they sat down in a nice toasty seat and didn't have to wear that winter coat throughout an entire game and freeze their buns off, they'd be like, okay, I could be sold on this. This is pretty good.
You're right, though. Like, even I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and the Bill Stadium in Orchard Park, like, right by the lake, like, you get that lake effect snow. Fans took pride, and, like, they would go to the stadium and shovel paths for players. Like, they would go to players' homes and, like, shovel them out. So I think fans definitely take pride in that kind of stuff, and it's truly, like, unforgettable. Like, no one's ever going to, if you were at that game last year, 2013 Snow Bowl against Detroit, like, obviously you'll never forget LaShawn McCoy just making guys miss in a blizzard. But again, I'm thinking of it from a competitive perspective, and also just for me, like, I don't like being cold for 4.5 hours.
Coming from a guy who lives in Western New York.
Yeah, I'm a psychopath. Like, I'm watching football games stone cold sober. Like, I'm a freak. I like to watch football just for the love of the game. And, like, I don't want to be cold in that situation.
But that Joe Webb game was so great because it produced a quote from Ed Rendell. Do you remember this one?
Oh, yes.
We have become a nation of wussies. That was so great. He said that on the radio. I think it was on WIP somewhere. It was so great.
And then he wrote a book, I think, called Nation of Wusses.
I can't believe they lost to Joe Webb. Oh, my God.
They lost to Joe Webb. And then the next Eagles game, I think it was a playoff game, too, if I'm not mistaken. They filled Ed Rendell's seat with snow at the link. Just his seat.
Is that
never
right?
forget it. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Oh yeah. He walked into his seat,
Ed
and it was
knowledge right there.
I every once in a while, one comes out, one gem.
Wow.
But they had a stick in it with a sign on it, I think, that said "Nation of Wusses" or something like that, and it was just and the Eagles did it. It wasn't like some kids just brought snow in to prank the former governor. Pretty funny. All right, I want to deal with this term, because it makes me go back to how I felt about the Eagles before the Super Bowl, gentlemen. And I swear every ounce of what I'm about to tell you is true. But I have more questions about the Eagles now, obviously, than I did when they walked off the field after just manhandling a team hunting a dynasty in the Kansas City Chiefs, hunting a three-peat. We'll talk about that when we return. The term, it's up there on the board. You can see it already. We'll talk about it when we return. This is Locked On Eagle Squad Show podcast. And just like that, we're back. Super team, gentlemen. I feel the Philadelphia Eagles last year, Philadelphia Eagles had a super team. I know a lot of the names were young, new to the NFL, up-and-comers, obviously. One of those up-and-comers only picked off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl and took it back for a touchdown on his own birthday in Cooper DeJean. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, a Jeff Stoutland offensive line. Dallas got it as your tight end. This is a super offense still. That team that played in the Super Bowl, a super team. I honestly looked at this game, and I remember talking to two prominent football personalities in the city of Philadelphia, Derek Gunn and Ray Didinger. And we were working through the game. We were going through our pregame routines and all that stuff. And one of them said, this is a close game. I can't see where the Eagles lose this one. The experience, all that stuff. But it's going to be close, blah, blah, blah. Eagles still win. And I said, I can't look at I honestly, every time I work through this game and I just consider the talent out there, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs belong on the same football field as the Philadelphia Eagles. This 2024 Chiefs team does not belong on the same football field as this 2024 Eagles team. The X factor in it all is experience and still Patrick Mahomes, obviously. So I didn't go with it in my official prediction, but I'm saying if you're just going on talent alone, Eagles dominate. And talent showed up in that particular Super Bowl. And you're running it back with all but one of the pieces that you had offensively, and that's the right guard position, of course. Do the Eagles still have enough defensively, you think, to still be looked at as a super team? And we've heard it from national analysts. They talked about it on NBC Sports, about NBC Sports National, about how there's no team constructed like the Philadelphia Eagles. They're constructed to be dominant again. We talked about the term reloaded. Have they really reloaded, retooled, whatever word you want to use? Have they done that to the best of their ability so far this offseason? And are they still working on it with Howie always lurking in the weeds when it comes to a training camp deal, whether that be Nickel Roby-Coleman, whether that be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, whether that be Justin Simmons?
There it is.
Always
there
lurking. You're welcome.
Wow.
Always lurking for that next deal. Harry, when you look at this Eagles team right now, do you still see the makings of a super team?
Well, when you say super team, okay, I mean, how do you define that? Is that a Super Bowl winning team, or
yes,
is it even beyond that where you're talking like a really special team that could go on and win like 15, 16, 17 regular season games and go on and win the Super Bowl? Like, are we talking, like, define that a little bit more for me?
I'm talking about a 14, 15 win team that wins the Super Bowl. I'm talking about a team that blows out a game or blows out an opponent in the NFC Championship game and blows out an opponent in the Super Bowl. That to me is that is a team that the rest of the league has to catch up to, and they got a ways to go to do it.
Okay. Well, I already took the Eagles under 11.5 wins. So I guess I'm not defining it as a super team. Now, that doesn't mean they don't go on and win the Super Bowl, but the regular season numbers, because I'm looking at the fact that last year they played 6 teams in the regular season that made the playoffs the previous year. This year they're playing, I believe, 10, and they've got some unbelievable, matchups in there: Kansas City, Buffalo, Tampa Bay. The list goes on and on. I think Washington has gotten better. I think Dallas is going to have their quarterback back with a couple more weapons. They should be better. There's just some elements there that I think, plus the fact that they went through that season last year really pretty healthy outside of their wide receivers being down for a couple of games here and there. They were a pretty healthy football team. So I don't know that I can guarantee that 2 years in a row through a regular season, but that does not preclude me from thinking that they can go win the division. I still think they win the division. I don't think Washington has more wins than the Eagles nor Dallas. So they're going to win the division, and they can still go on and win the Super Bowl. I just took them I think they can go 11-6 in the regular season and still go on and be a Super Bowl team. But does that define super team? Probably not.
When I think of super team, like for me, that means you have just no holes on the roster. You're a historically great roster on paper. Like last year's Eagles team, I truly believe is a top 5, top 10 team in the history of the NFL from a roster construction standpoint. They had stars pretty much at every position, just no holes, right? And so like super teams is a term used a lot in the NBA for the Golden State Warriors when they had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, like Draymond Green. That to me is a super team. That's who the Eagles were last year. I think they will still likely be that team this year because although they lost Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, and Darius Slay, I don't think those guys were the reason you would consider last year's team a super team. All the stars, the faces of this franchise, the pillars, or even on defense, they're still here. Like it's Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. It's Zach Bond. It's Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Like those to me are the pillars on defense that make you a super team. But I do want to say, like, because a super team to me doesn't have any holes, I wouldn't call them that just yet because I want to see what Moro Ujoma is in place of Milton Williams. I want to see what they're getting in Jalix Hunt in year 2 or Azeez Ojulari. Like, what does Jahad Campbell look like as a rookie? Is Makuba just as good as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? So I think last year's team was a super team. I think this year's team is still the most complete roster in football, but I don't want to call them a super team again until I see like what these replacements look like on defense. But it's a super offense, like you said, Mark. The offense is definitely a super team still.
Yeah, I agree. And you bring up the NBA, and I feel like a lot of other sports too, you get talked about as a super team.
Yeah.
You talk about what the dream team was, knock on wood, in 2011. Like, oh, you brought in all this talent, so you're going to be great. This is homegrown stuff for the most part. Even Zach Bond, who's not homegrown, well, him as a all-pro linebacker, that's homegrown.
He feels homegrown. Yeah.
He feels homegrown, right? Yeah. You just had all you had in New Orleans was a seed. Vic Fangio came over there with his water and just went, just going to pour that on there. And look, an all-pro all of a sudden.
That dream team was more like that Washington Redskins team that brought in Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders. Remember that? They brought in a couple other guys. And was that Marty Schottenheimer's team?
I believe Marty Schott. Yes,
and he lasted 1 year. I think they went 8-8, and he got fired or something, right?
I believe so.
It was a disaster.
Funny enough, the dream team of 2011 went 8-8 as well. So.
Yeah.
The mark of a terrible team. When you have all that promise and you're 500.
Right.
So looking back on this past year, absolutely super team. My knee-jerk reaction to the conversation nationally about a super team or an impenetrable roster, my knee-jerk reaction is no, there's too many questions defensively. But then when you look at the roster defensively, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Louis, use your term. Yes, the stars are still here. But it's not just the stars are still here. Stars are still here in areas where you supposedly lost great talent. Don't have Milton Williams anymore? All right, well, anyone that plays next to Jalen Carter is going to look pretty damn good. You have banged-up linebackers in Jahad Campbell and Nakobe Dean. You still got Zach Bond. You've been trying to replace Hassan Reddick still for 2 years. Now you got to replace Josh Sweat. Oh, now you got Azeez Ojulari. You got Josh Uche. You got Nolan Smith. You got guys that can play that position. You got to replace Brandon Graham. Well, I got another young up-and-comer in Jalix Hunt that wants to take that step forward. You don't have Darius Slay? Geez, you still got Cooper DeJean, who apparently they're going to use as a secondary Swiss Army knife, apparently, for the nickel, the outside, and the safety. It is just stacked and loaded with talent. And even where you have question marks, you still have great exclamation points in those same position groups. So I look back on it and I go, well, yeah, you might not have proven commodities everywhere, but what team does? But when you're talking about a super team, you still got a lot of talent on that defensive side of the football where most of your question marks lie. So I look at this team in the upcoming season, I go, they absolutely have the makings again of being a super team, a team that wins maybe 14 games again. I don't know, like a 10-game winning streak is just hard no matter where you're at. So fitting that into the schedule would be difficult. But a team that could dominate in the playoffs and the Super Bowl again, they absolutely, in my mind, have the makings of doing that.
And it's tougher to do that in the NFL, to create a super team year after year that just has no holes. And again, I think Moro Ujoma will fill that hole of Milton Williams and Jalix Hunt. I think that's the thing about Josh Sweat and Milton Williams and Darius Slay. Like, they were really good players for you last year, but I do think the Super Bowl, especially for Josh Sweat, really enhanced like how people view who he was. Like, he was a solid player. Like, he led your team in sacks last year, but he only had 8 sacks. It's not like this is, like Mark said, this isn't Jalen Carter leaving. It's not Zach Bond, or it's not Nolan. I think Nolan Smith was their best.
It's not TJ Watt.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's why, again, it's more of a projection this year because these players are not proven on the field. But I think by the time we get to the regular season, halfway through, we'll be saying, yeah, this roster is probably just as good as 2024. And then, you know, you got to sustain that, though. It's harder with a first-place schedule. Will that super team roster, will it be applicable on the field to the same kind of results as last year? We're not sure, but, you know, there's other factors that play into that. Like, the rest of the NFC is getting better, and again, like you guys said, they play some really tough teams this year. Like,
Yeah.
this is not an easy schedule at all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, I want to get one comment in here. Mojo, what's up, Mojo? We already have a great roster. I don't see why Watt would be worth what it would take to get him. Again, I don't see that as a lot in terms of what you'd give up. The finances of it all, that's my huge question mark.
Right.
As far as Nolan Smith, I like Nolan Smith a lot. I think he's going to go on to have a very solid NFL career. But if you're telling me TJ Watt's on this defense tomorrow, all right, forget about a super team. They're a heavenly team, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe Howie can go and say, listen, TJ, you've been toiling away for 8 years in Pittsburgh. You're probably already in Canton, Ohio. Now it's time to win championships. That's what every great player wants. Like, do you really have to break the Myles Garrett bank if I can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to be playing for Super Bowls? You playing for Super Bowls in Pittsburgh? This ain't the 70s.
So he's going to be
1
like,
year.
yeah, you know what? You make a great point, Howie. Instead of $40 million a year, you know what? I'll go down to 35.
35.
Let's make it. I'm feeling generous.
I was going to say 1 year, $10 million. With that sales pitch? Harry, when were you in sales? And if you weren't, why weren't you? You were? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah. I sold surgical devices and copiers and all kinds of crap. Oh, yeah.
Talk about a Swiss Army knife on defense. We got
Harry really.
That's right.
You're the Cooper to Gene, my friend. You do it all.
Yeah.
You had me. If I'm TJ Watt, I'm like, seriously. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
Where do I sign? 1 year, $10 million, done. To win a championship? I've heard the culture's great in Philly.
Yeah.
Let's keep with
that. That's right.
Yeah. E-Money Bentley, what's going on? Go Birds. Hey, go Birds. I said it back.
It's pretty simple.
Speaking of go Birds, the Birds went pretty far last year, obviously, in the postseason. Washington Commanders, they put over their knee in the postseason.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in our continued series. Second to last game, gentlemen. I'm going to miss it. Locked On Eagles Squad will take a look at the 2024 season that was. This week, NFC Championship Game against the Washington Commanders. Won big by your Philadelphia Eagles. Talk about that and more when we return real quick right here on Locked On Eagles Squad Show podcast. Boy, oh boy, gentlemen. Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Washington Commanders. Kenny Pickett was at quarterback. Devontae Smith dropped the football. Oh, no. Oh, hell was breaking loose. NFC Championship Game rolls around. The Washington Commanders come off a dominating win over the Detroit Lions on the road. Absolutely destroy them in Detroit. No problems whatsoever. Then they come into South Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Eagles dominate the Washington Commanders to the tune of 55-23. Oh, no way. Saquon Barkley started it off with a huge run. That's exactly what happened. 60-yard touchdown run for Saquon Barkley to give the Eagles a 7-3 advantage. They were off and running pretty much after that. Louie, when you look back on the NFC Championship Game against the Washington Commanders, what jumps to mind?
For me, it was Jalen Hurts' performance. He was 20 of 28, 246 yards, a touchdown through the air, had 3 touchdowns on the ground. I think we needed that. Every time this year we started to turn on Jalen Hurts, we started to ask questions like, can he do it? Because remember, he came back really rusty against Green Bay, didn't have a great passing performance. Then against the Rams, it was shaky because of the snow. He got injured. We were really nervous, at least I was, heading into that game. Like, what's his leg going to look like? Like, if he is a statue in the pocket, can they win a Super Bowl like this? And I think he put all doubt to rest again, just like he did against Pittsburgh and against Cincinnati and so many times in 2024. This was such a just mic drop performance from Jalen. I think you needed that heading into the Super Bowl to see the passing game. Again, only 1 touchdown through the air, but it was just so efficient, and they just made things so much easier, the quick passing game. Like, they just got the ball into the hands of A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert had 85 yards through the air. So for me, it was, again, another moment where the passing game, like, their backs were up against the wall and they performed. Like, there was a lot of fun moments of this game, but for me, that was the mental piece I needed heading into the Super Bowl.
Harry, when you look back on it, what jumps out?
Well, this was, to me, you described the Commanders going into Detroit and laying a beat down on the Lions, who were, thinking that they were on their way to hosting an NFC Championship Game and maybe finally getting to a Super Bowl. That was the apex for a team in Washington that was way ahead of schedule. And the clock struck 12 when they hit Lincoln Financial Field in the NFC Championship game. And it was pretty obvious from the first play you described on offense for the Eagles, a 60-yard home run by Saquon Barkley. They had turnovers galore. I think 4 turnovers turned into 28 points for the Philadelphia Eagles. They fumbled a kickoff, for crying out loud, when the score was like 20-12, and a couple plays later it's 27-12. I mean, it was just mistake after mistake. They committed 9 penalties, and 4 big ones were on third downs that the Eagles did not convert were it not for the penalty. So things like that, teams that just aren't ready. It was a team that just wasn't ready against a team that was absolutely ready to play in a Super Bowl, and that's the way it looked like to me. Remember, you had the tush push situation where Louvu and was going over the top 2 times, and then Jared Allen, I believe, got a penalty.
That's what made Roger Goodell want to get rid of the push.
Right. That whole
right there.
fiasco there. Yeah, it was like I think at that point in time it was 41-23. The game was long over, but it was just a team that was absolutely a Super Bowl team against a team that really had overextended their stay in the playoffs. That's the way it looked like to me.
I didn't know that you could award a touchdown.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
They made the announcement. I remember looking around the room. I was like,
they can do that?
Is it? No way, really? That's easier than the tush push. Let's just do that. No. Louisville jumping over. I thought, okay, this is going to get a lot of attention and drum up a lot of negativity about the tush push. And then when I heard that you could just award the touchdown, I was like, yeah, do it one more time. I kind of want to see that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Then the other thing was, the only thing that gave me a little bit of pause about the Commanders, and look, yes, that the fact that they just blew out the Lions and controlled that game and forced turnovers galore in that game as well and took advantage of them. The thing that gave me a little bit of pause was that Dan Quinn is the head coach of the Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn is not going to be riding any high as long as if the Commanders ever win a Super Bowl and he's the head coach, then I'm sure he'll ride that high. But when you have a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, like his Atlanta Falcons had over the New England Patriots, and you blow that lead, you don't take anything for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to a team blowing out a team on the road, like the Commanders did to the Lions, and then coming to Philly and then feeling themselves a little bit, I didn't think Dan Quinn was going to allow that to happen to his squad. And if there's anything he can prepare a team for, it's, hey, come back down to earth. That was then. This is now. You got to show up and you got to beat the Eagles. The Eagles proved when it mattered most, they could throw a haymaker at the Washington Commanders and say, hey, you think you could almost beat us without our starting quarterback? You think you could beat us because you have a guy like Devontae Smith dropping a ball that he never drops? You think that's going to give you confidence? You could drive down the field with that defense and do something special? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And they just absolutely knocked him out in that particular instance. So how about that?
I do remember, like, they just had such a big head that week, and it probably was because of the Detroit win and because they beat the Eagles in D.C. But I remember even it was like, I think it was the Commanders' defensive line coach or linebacker. They said something about, like, being aggressive towards Jalen Hurts. And it was cool to me to see, like, the mic drop of the Eagles just beating them by, 55-23. But also, like, I remember Jalen Hurts specifically, like, all week, people were talking about, can he throw the football efficiently? Can it be enough to win a championship? And meanwhile, Jaden Daniels, I feel like he was almost being treated as the superior quarterback during the previews that week. So it was cool to see Hurts also outplay Daniels because Jaden as a rookie, like the run he was on was incredible. But I do think heading into that game, he was almost seen like the superior player. So that was kind of cool to see Jalen outperform him.
Yeah, you're right about that, Louie. There's no doubt about it. That's the way sort of the game was being set up. Yeah. With relation to the quarterbacks. But that Eagles defense, we talked about the 4 turnovers, leading to 28 points. The Eagles offense was 7 for 7 in the red zone that day. I mean, you talk about, now Hurts' numbers were very efficient. 20 for 28, 246, a touchdown, and he ran for 3 touchdowns. I mean, that to me, that's the stat line that you need to be looking for this year out of Jalen Hurts on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I would sign up for that today. I mean, that was a very efficient football game by the quarterback, coming off of 2 not so great performances coming back from the injury. But the Philadelphia defense also allowed only 27 yards rushing to running backs in that game. And, on 9 carries in the first half, like the first half, they totally took the run away from Washington. I thought that was significant too.
Yeah, Brian Robinson led the team, at running back and rushing, only 11 carries for 36 yards.
Right.
Daniels actually was the one that led the team in rushing, 6 for 48 and a touchdown. But you're right, like the defense, spectacular. Nolan Smith continued. He broke the franchise postseason sack record with a sack in that game. Quinyon Mitchell's pick over Terry McLaurin was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, the defense just yet again, just a quietly dominant performance. And even Jordan Davis got in on the sack game at the end, which was awesome to see. So it was just, it feels like I get excited for NFC championships. I don't really get nervous anymore because all 3 since 2017 have just been absolute parties where like before the first half is over, you're like, we're going to the Super Bowl.
The fourth quarter is just an outright.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a rager.
3 times in under a decade where the link is, like you said, it's just a complete rager.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Into the performance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just only look forward to the NFC Championship game. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I mean, the Super Bowls is where I get nervous, but the NFC title, I'm like, I got this. If it's at the link, if they were going into Detroit, it would have been different. But.
Who's the former Blaine Bishop?
Yeah.
No, Louis is
the sheriff.
No scars from Blaine Bishop. You know what I mean? Good times. By the way, sorry I had to duck out there for a second. My 3-year-old son ran in completely naked. So
wow.
It's time to bow out, gentlemen.
I'm sure there were players. I'm sure there were fans streaking during that game.
He's a bit of a party animal. Okay,
yeah.
He's a bit of a party animal. But anyway, hey guys, tomorrow, 4th of July.
Yep.
Louis, what are you doing? What are you partying? How are you celebrating 4th of July?
Beaching it up. Going to play some golf first. Going to hit the sand after that, I think. So I'm going to do another podcast too. I'm doing Locked On Eagles. We're dropping a show tomorrow. We have a What If series going on right now. So
what beach? What beach?
So I'm in Buffalo. So it's a Lake Erie beach.
Right.
So
okay.
The Great Lakes.
Is it a nude beach? So can Farzi's son join you?
It is not.
It's about to be a new beach.
Some sort of NBA jersey at the beach.
I will say pretty much wherever my son is, it becomes nude.
Okay.
It's like this is a nude bar. It's a nude bar. This is a nude McDonald's. It's a nude McDonald's. No way. He just loves being naked. Harry, how about you, man? 4th of July, what are you doing?
I gotta force him at 11:30 at my club, and probably after that, numerous cocktails and. Got an early one on Saturday morning, about 8:20, I think we go off.
Very nice.
Friday, Saturday, golf. That's it.
It's stick season.
Yep. Yeah. It's 12 months a year for me, Louis.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it never ends. Yeah. Yeah.
My son,
what about you?
Nude golf.
Nude golf, yeah.
I will celebrate with family. Got my wife's family in town. Always a great time hanging out with them. So
nice.
My kids are around the same age as my brother-in-law's kids, so it's great to have the cousins get together and party. I have a buddy of mine coming over tomorrow with his kids. It's gonna be great. Dinner tonight. I don't have to speak into a microphone for 48 hours, so I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
No Phillies postcast Friday for the Phillies postcast people. I'm off on Friday for the 4th of July, so enjoy that on your own. No Eagle Squad podcast shows until next week, so I look forward to those. But next 48 hours for me, complete debauchery.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have my fun with that.
And you got the Sixers ones in the can already, right? You've already
got the Sixers. Oh yeah, baby, Sixers ones in the can. One's coming out at one. I think is hitting right now as we wrap this show. Okay. The other will be tomorrow afternoon also. And how about this Saturday night, 9:00, VJ Edgecombe versus Ace Bailey, Summer League action. NBA knows how to set the schedule.
Saturday.
I'm gonna be there and looking at my TV and everything. Be like, wow, where are they at? They're in Utah.
VJ Edgecombe, she a good player? I don't know.
Potential. It'll work. Anyway.
I wonder if Ace Bailey's loving Utah right now.
Every moment of it. What's Hilltop got? Hilltop Hustler, great name. I love TJ, but no, I wouldn't. He's too old. No one would probably need to be as good as TJ, or probably won't be as good as TJ, but Eagles team is built the sum of a collective, not one superstar.
I love the way he ends it. If TJ was 26, maybe I would. Are you freaking nuts, Hilltop, with all due respect? Do you know the player that we're talking about here? If he was 26, you maybe? Oh.
He still had a lot to prove then. I think he was only a 4-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Or All-Pro.
Yeah.
When he was 26. I think he was only 4 times. So
right.
You know what? I'm not convinced.
No.
I'm not convinced.
I love
Guys, a pleasure. I hope you guys let freedom ring on the 4th of July.
Sir.
In every way possible. For those that watch, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to all things Locked On Eagles, Locked On Sports as well. Louie DiBiase has you covered right there with your daily Locked On Eagles content right here on Locked On Eagles. Harry's got you covered for your Locked On Eagles postcast along with Jason Martinez, so we'll have back with us next week. I got you covered for your Locked On postcast, 76ers, all that fun stuff, including Eagles Squad as well. So like and subscribe to Locked On Eagles. Happy 4th of July, everybody. See you later.